From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security. Let me clear my voice here. Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. Great to be with all of y'all this morning. Again, out of the studio this week as I travel. Hopefully this all kind of slows down towards the holidays and then slowly picks back up early in January. But again, flew in really late last night. Did find an espresso spot. Went downstairs to get it because they have a machine here in the hotel lobby, and it was disgusting. It was just, no, I couldn't do it. So for all of y'all having a coffee cup cheers at the moment, coffee cup cheers, let me know in the comments what you're drinking this morning as you're watching the show, because we've got a lot to talk about. So buckle up, buckle in. Tensions are getting high between the U.S. and China. The Salt Typhoon attack is starting to get a little bit more information being spread out, as well as a whole lot more, including data brokers, Cloudflare, and so much more on today's show. So don't go anywhere. Buckle in. Let's get this show going. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. And here we go. Well, vodka maker brand Stoli Group filed for bankruptcy late last week, citing one of the contributing factors being the cyber attack they experienced back in August. Stoli, which is headquartered in Luxembourg, produces a famous vodka brand called Stoli, filed for Chapter 11 protection in Texas last week for Stoli Group USA, as well as its Kentucky oil whiskey brand. The filing listed between $50 to $100 million in liabilities. The company early on in its kind of evolution was Russian owned, was a Russian brand. However, over the years, that has not been the case, and now Stoli is actually produced in Latvia and not in Russia, and they're two different countries, and Latvia is completely separate from Russia, and then they do speak Latvian in Latvia as well. Very nice little country. I've had the pleasure of visiting there multiple times during my life, so a really cool place. But nonetheless, the ransomware attack that they experienced in August was essentially the straw that broke the camel's back here. And why do we start off with this story? Because I often and recently on the show have always talked about our ability as cybersecurity practitioners to be business enablers and to support the business and understand business processes. And so when you have a company that isn't doing well, essentially due to disputes with Fifth Third Bank, issues with compliance, supply chain disruptions, potential reputational harm due to its association previously or not with Russia. When Russia invaded the Ukraine, the brand was boycotted by some liquor stores. And again, this kind of shows you the impacts of some of these social issues that end up taking effect on a company. Well, the straw that broke the camel's back was apparently this cyber attack that caused severe operational disruption. It also added issues with additional compliance with Fifth Third's bank reporting requirements. Spokesperson for Fifth Third did not respond. The company made significant efforts to distance itself from Russia, as I stated earlier, but the cyber attack costs have figured into the recent bankruptcy filing by other companies. Peterson Healthcare, one of the largest U.S. nursing home operators, filed for bankruptcy protection in March due to a 2023 cyber attack. And they attributed that also, by the way, to the United Healthcare breach, which was slow to pay them as they were trying to reel. So one thing after the other. So when people tell you that, this is a victimless crime, no, there's real economic challenges to these cybersecurity threats. And these economic challenges are costing our nation jobs. It's costing our nation GDP and so forth. And that's significant. Jericho Pictures, for there, and we talked about them. They were the parent company of the National Public Data. They filed also for Chapter 11 following their data breach here. So the Wall Street Journal finally starting to put these pieces together that we in the industry have been talking about for a while. But now that it hits the Wall Street Journal, this is a great article to share with your executives as you're getting some pushback around cyber, as you're potentially trying to win more face time of these specific challenges that other companies have had, of some lessons learned, and being able to bring those into your executive meetings, into your board meetings, and so forth. Well, CISA, along with the FBI and NSA, have now shared more information on the Salt Typhoon data breach, including some guidance to companies on how to essentially push this out, how to get Salt Typhoon out of your system. The CISA and the FBI confirmed the breaches back in late October after Salt Typhoon breached multiple broadband providers that included AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and Lumen Technologies. They later revealed that private communication and a limited number of government officials had their private communications compromised. They also were able to gain access to the U.S. government wiretapping platform. They stole call records as well as law enforcement request data. Although it's still unknown when the telecom giants' networks were first breached, the Chinese hackers apparently had access for months, even longer in some cases. Again, if we know that in SolarWinds, right, they were in there for the Russians and the Chinese both were in there for nearly 9-10 months. Here, this could be a whole lot more. So vigilance is key, as the NSA says that Chinese attackers targeted exposed and vulnerable services, unpatched devices, and generally under-secured environments. The advisory talks about defensive measures to enhance visibility for system admins and engineers managing communication infrastructure for more detailed insights into network traffic, data flow, and user activity, including patching and upgrading devices promptly, disabling all unused, unauthenticated, or unencrypted protocols, limiting management connections and privileged accounts, using and storing passwords securely, and using only strong crypto in your environment. So all of those coming out obviously there, but that's not it. The U.S. and China trade war is starting to really gain some steam here, with the Commerce Department expanding the list of Chinese technology companies that are subject to export controls to include many that make equipment used to make computer chips, chip making tools, and software. In response to this list yesterday, China essentially banned the export of critical components for chip making, critical minerals for chip making, that China really almost has the market cornered on them. And again, this is all kind of happening now in this lame duck session of the Biden administration ahead of what is incoming on January 20th of the Trump administration, which seems to indicate that they're very hawkish when it comes to China, that the idea is to isolate China economically, militarily, and diplomatically in order to reduce the Chinese risk and ambitions on the global stage. And China, obviously knowing this, is now going to play the game as well of limiting specific exports, of limiting specific things to the U.S. that the U.S. and Europe and the rest of the world would need in order to have some sort of bargaining chip with President Trump and his administration as they take over for the Biden administration on January 20th. The purpose of these entity list sanctions, according to Gina Raimondo, Secretary of Commerce, is to stop the PRC companies from leveraging U.S. technologies to indigenously produce advanced semiconductor, so weapons of mass destructions and so forth. China has accused the U.S. of pursuing technology hegemony as Washington steps up pressure on Chinese tech giants Huawei and other Chinese manufacturers of advanced technology by blocking access to American suppliers. So again, this trade war is heating up, and we're going to see some impacts to that as well. In the energy sector vendor EN Global is dealing with the effects of a cyber attack to its IT systems, with efforts to restore still underway. The filing on Monday with the securities filing on Monday says that CFO Darren Spriggs said in the filing that the preliminary investigation revealed that a threat actor illegally accessed the company's IT system and encrypted some of its data. ENG restricted access, and it's now working on recovery. This is an additional energy sector victim here, Halliburton being the first back in August, and New Park Resources back in October. All of these are based in Texas, and again, all of them are in the energy sector. So Halliburton said they've reported $35 million in charges due to the cyber attack. ENG said the timing of restoration and full access to the company's IT system remains unknown. The company did not respond for comment, and they have not determined yet what is in there, but this does appear to be a ransomware attack. Police in France and the Netherlands shut down a Matrix encrypted chat service used by criminals. Now, Matrix has kind of a legitimate side of the business, this apparently wasn't something Matrix did, but something that people were leveraging Matrix in order to do. So this was first discovered back in 2021 after the murder of Dutch investigative journalist Peter R. de Vries, who was known for stories about unsolved crimes. The dismantled operation is not the same as a legitimate messaging platform hosted at matrix.org. They used the same name potentially to maybe, make it seem like they were using something legitimate. That was not the case. Over 3 months of Matrix investigation, police intercepted and deciphered more than 2.3 million messages in 33 different languages from suspected criminals. The platform had nearly 8,000 users who paid anywhere between 1,300 euros and 1,600 euros for a 6-month subscription. The infrastructure comprised more than 40 servers located in several countries, with the majority in Germany and France. During the arrest, among the arrested was the suspected owner and operator of the platform, a 52-year-old Lithuanian citizen who collaborated with a 30-year-old man from the Netherlands, according to Dutch police. During searches of the suspect's home, they seized anywhere from $152,000 to about $500,000 in crypto. $152 million in cash and around $500,000 in crypto. Authorities say they also confiscated 4 vehicles and more than 970 mobile phones. Why in the world? How do you? That reminds me of that scene in Saul. Sorry, the lawyer there, where he's got like multiple phones. He got one for everyone. So now that chat's been taken offline. JamesCesar.substack.com. Go check it out. Subscribe there. Follow it. You get this podcast in audio format there. And you also get the written version of this show with all the action items, all the links and everything else. Also, make sure to follow us and subscribe on X and YouTube for all the latest. Cloudflare's page.dev and workers.dev domains are being used by threat actors in order to facilitate phishing and other malicious activities, as those are trusted for deploying web pages. According to Fortra, the abuse of these domains have risen between 100 to 250% compared to last year. The researchers believe the use of these domains is aimed at improving the legitimacy and effectiveness of these malicious campaigns, taking advantage of Cloudflare's trusted branding, service reliability, low usage costs, and reverse proxy options to complicate detection. So they're actually using legitimate tools in order to deliver this. And then again, that goes down to the kind of zero trust architecture within the network of not just trusting something because it comes from Cloudflare, but really trying to establish additional checks and balances to that, as Cloudflare has to, on its own kind of deal with how criminals use its infrastructure as well. So that threat continues to increase, and something we'll have to look at as practitioners, as we go about it. So we'll see how that takes place. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on Tuesday is proposing a long-anticipated rule to limit how data broker can traffic in and sell American personal and sensitive financial data. Now, here's the thing about this. The proposal would classify data brokers selling specific types of individual data as consumer reporting agencies, meaning if they're selling financial data, that'd be under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, so they'd be subject to that. They couldn't just peddle a bunch of scraped data that actually have to subject that data, that have tougher accuracy requirements, and it'd give you more control over that. This is a long-anticipated rule that we hope the Trump administration actually adopts and puts into play. If nothing else, there should be a national data privacy law that actually limits data brokers within that law itself as well. The potential rule, for which comments are due by March of 2025, would limit the sale of consumer social security and phone numbers and ensure that financial data, including income, is only shared for essential reasons like mortgage approvals or car buying, and not just, whatever else, like your Amazon account or whatever the case may be. So again, good stuff there. Veeam released a security update to address 2 service provider console vulnerabilities, including a critical remote code execution that was discovered during internal testing. The first flaw fixed was CVE 2024-42448, rated a 9.9 on the severity scale that would enable attackers to execute arbitrary code on unpatched servers from the VSBC management agent machine. Veeam also patched a high severity vulnerability, that's CVE 2024-42449, that would let attackers steal the NTLM hash of the VSPC server account and use the gained access to delete files on the server. So you want to make sure you get those patched. Nearly $1.5 billion in crypto losses have been registered thus far this year, mainly due to incidents, according to a Web3 bug bounty platform Emofi is showing. The total year-to-date losses have dropped compared to last year when they surpassed $1.75 billion during the same period, but were mainly driven by losses of $359 million in May and more than $282 million in July. Again, yesterday we just talked here on the show about DMM Bitcoin in Japan going out of business after their hack and the loss of nearly $300 million worth of Bitcoin. Again, all of these are just showing you the amount of money that exists out there for cyber criminals to take advantage of and the need to really be paying attention to it all. And finally, a known threat actor in the malware as a service business known as Venom Spider are expanding capabilities for cyber criminals using the platform, now with a novel backdoor and loader detected in 2 separate attacks in a 2-month period. This is according to researchers at Zscaler's Threat Labs, uncovering this campaign that leveraged a backdoor called RefC2, as well as a loader called Venom Loader, and the attacks that use the malware as a service tool from Venom Spider, according to a blog post published on December 2nd. Venom Spider is a threat actor that offers malware as a service tools. The platform apparently has been enhanced, this time to have 2 new malware families that have been observed in recent phishing campaigns. The RefC2, observed by researchers in the campaign, occurred between August to September and used API documentation lore to deliver the novel payload. The attack began with an LNK file that contained an obfuscated batch script that, when executed, downloads a PNG image from a website. The PNG aims to lure the victim with a document that is titled APFX Media API Documentation. Once executed, the RefC2 uses 2 checks for specific system criteria and then executes only if they both pass. That way it doesn't get detected. A second campaign that happened between September and October used the cryptocurrency lore to deliver the Venom loader there as well. So all in all, we see more and more tools become available. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Until then, please make sure to subscribe, follow, share, comment. And if you have any stories, please let us know. You can always message us discreetly at info@cyberhubpodcast.com. Until then, have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.